I know. I'm asking. You want to do it? Okay, you guys.
Hold on to your
Careful.
butts.
Careful of your ears. Yeah. Hold on to your butts.
Oh, no way. Oh my god! No way! Oh my god!
Welcome everybody to episode 151 of 1 million of the Serial Chillers podcast. I ask, as always, how goes it? Hello, Greg.
Good. I'm feeling extra groovy, but I just ran out of drink, so that'll be a problem later. But cross that bridge when we get there.
Hey, don't even ask. Just run off when you need it, and we'll know what's going on, right?
Yeah. We'll say that's why I left.
That's perfect. We got a couple guests here, and we're going to get to them in a minute. But first, huge shout out to Kelly G. We're back in Kelly G territory. That's what we do around here. She sends them, we read them. The world keeps on spinning. It feels like it's how it works at this point, honestly. I'm just the guy that reads stuff around here. And God damn it, I'm here for it.
One day you're going to teach me, dude.
Also, check us out on all of the social media grams, Instagram, TikTok. We're super active there. The show lands on YouTube just the same time as the podcast does each week. And if you're quick, you can comment on it before we turn comments off every week. The Threadless store is still there. The Patreon is still there. Discord, come join us, hang out. Our two guests here today are like basically here because we're friends through the Discord, and it's one of those cool things. Send us cool stuff. PO Box 1229, Clovis, California 93613. All this information you don't have to write down. SerialChillersPod.com. It's there. Real quick, references, citations, True Crime Garage Podcast, Time Suck Podcast, Myth of the Zodiac. I guess I gave it away here. I didn't make you guess, so it's fine. It wasn't like a question. This is the Zodiac Speaking by David Pryor. His name was Arthur Lee Allen by David Pryor, and the Zodiac Killer Identified by Kendall Ray. So you'll get you guys a little hint on what's going on there. Welcoming back one guest who joined us for the end of the season tournament last year. Also a contributor herself in some episodes, sending those outlines in. Like I said, I don't want to do shit. Y'all making it to where I don't have to do shit. Welcome back, Jaxx.
Hello. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
It's an absolute pleasure. Your first full episode, so you're kind of getting like a little bit of a treatment that you didn't get. Theme songs and like,
yeah.
What did Jesse and Greg do during the theme song? It turns out not a lot.
Yeah.
They just kind of sit there,
sit here and look at each other.
A little different.
Yeah, we've heard it more than anybody.
It's cool to hear it like on this side, though.
Well, welcome to the worst thing you've ever been a part of.
Thank you.
Then we have a new friend to the show. Like I said, you join the Discord, you come hang out with us, you end up on the show, and that's just the fucking way it is. Welcome, Panda.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
Fucking thank you for being here. People are always like, oh my god, like they let me be on the show, and I'm like, holy shit, dude, they said yes.
Right.
You guys are texting your friends that you get to be on Serial Chillers, and I'm texting Greg like, fuck yeah, dude, we're booked next Saturday, bro. We got people who still believe in us.
Yeah. You know how hard it is to go out and like try and get people to sign up for LonelyFans face to face? I was telling somebody about it today, and he's like, that's a great idea. And I'm like, yeah, you should go to it. And he's like, is it going to automatically sign me up? And I was like, you should go to
it. You fucking better believe it. It's like that creepy clip where the guy's like, say you're not a robot. It's like, I'm real. He's like, say you're not a robot, but I'm real. It's like,
Uncanny Valley.
All right. Yes.
Literally.
Well, it feels like ever since we did that episode, I just get nonstop Uncanny Valley stuff in my algorithm, and it's just freaky.
Because it's everywhere.
Yeah. Well, most of you know how the show works. Let me explain it for anybody that doesn't. Each week, we sit down with old friends, new friends, good friends, and bad friends to tell the story of an infamous serial killer, something true crime, dark, creepy, unsolved, or otherwise mysterious. If something isn't clear, be sure to chime in, because if you have questions about questions, be sure to ask questions, because I cannot answer questions about questions if you never ask questions. Are there any questions?
No.
No.
You guys got to see that for the first time from this side too. Then welcome to and let's play the Serial Chillers podcast. As I've given away here already, today's episode, Unsolved Murders of the Zodiac Killer.
I feel like we need a bum, bum, bum.
Literally,
like
I heard it in my mind.
A little
Well, if only we had a producer who could make something like that happen.
Why do you think I'm saying it now? I'm just going to cut me saying it from the episode and put it in there, and it's going to seem like we had it planned all along.
So as you guys know, big subject. I'm excited you guys are here for it. Before we get started, the new way we do things, because we don't have in-studio guests and doing cards is kind of funny. Not everybody's cameras are the same. Some people it's hard, So what we do now is Greg does odds and evens, and you guys will get to pick whether you want to go first or second, or take odds or evens basically in the questions. For strategy's sake, this has become kind of a big thing, whether you answer first or second on a question. Now, I will say that there are 14 questions today. So if you would like to answer the question, if you'd like to be first on the last question, you need to take the evens. If you'd like to be the last one to answer on the last question, you need to take the odds.
So it's all strategy. It's all strategy.
And then it's Greg's from here.
All right. Panda, since you've never been here before, we'll go ahead and let you do the honors. Odds or evens?
I'll do odds.
It is odds. Would
right.
you like to go
so
first?
Now you get to choose whether you like odds or evens. You go first or second.
Yeah,
so that's odds and evens.
You can kick or you can defer.
I'll go first.
Okay.
All right, here we go.
Cool.
So you'll still both answer, as is with tradition. Just on this particular one and the odds moving forward, Panda will always answer first. On the evens, Jax, you'll be the first one to answer.
All
and
right.
if you'd like, you can put it in the message area on the side there. Or you can write it down and hold it up, or you can say it out loud because you're going first.
Yeah,
Okay.
since there's order now, you're welcome to just say it out loud too.
Yep.
Okay.
All right, question number 1. In what year did the first crime attributed to the Zodiac take place? In what year did the first crime attributed to the Zodiac take place? Yeah, that's not edited in. I just do that live.
It's like when you see your favorite band live and the lead singer can actually hit those notes. And you're like, whoa, that's not studio magic? Nah. That's tight pants and whiskey bottles right there. That's Buddy's getting there on his own.
All right, Panda, you got your answer?
Yeah, I'm gonna say 1974.
74. Jax.
I want to say 1983.
1983. Panda is going to get 250 points on that one. The first attacks attributed to the Zodiac Killer took place in 1968. We got to go way back, motherfuckers. All right, let me pull this scoreboard up real quick because, of course, I'm not prepared like a full professional. Yes, I am.
Preparedness.
Yeah, well, that's not for us, you bastards.
I'm prepared for like the zombie apocalypse, but this?
I already forgot who got the points, you guys. Help me out here.
Panda.
I'm not high. So
I am too.
Same.
Yo, Tom being. So, the Zodiac was never caught. And really quickly, I should say, because, I kind of roll through it at the beginning because I don't want to leave the guests hanging too long. But Kelly G, All-Star, she always kind of gives me previews of what she's working on next when she sends me something. And she's been sending me a lot of the great in-between, the chiller chatter stuff you guys have been loving because of Kelly G mostly. but she probably since the middle of last season was like, dude, I'm gonna get to Zodiac. And I was like, okay, like I believe you. A couple people have said that, it's a big game. It's a lot.
It's a lot.
I haven't even bothered. Also, I don't really know how to approach unsolved murders sometimes. It's like, how do you usually for me, it's like a person. I'm going in and I'm talking about this person and their life.
Right.
For an unsolved murder, it's like, well, I don't born in he was I don't know, student. He graduated high school and I don't know. So sometimes Kelly G will send something and I'm like, I'm gonna fluff this up a little. Like I think I got a little bit to add to this. And sometimes I read through it and I'm like, holy fuck. So I become Joe Buck and Kelly G's the play-by-play and I do the color commentating because that's basically exactly what happened here. I'm reading you basically what Kelly G wrote.
Oh, I thought you meant you got ripped to shreds on the internet anytime you did anything.
Yeah. It's like he's really not that bad, and neither is Chris Collinsworth. We need someone to hate in those primetime moments.
I will concede Joe Buck. I will fight you about Chris Collinsworth. That guy sucks.
Yeah, I remember your fantasy football team names.
I hope he fucking listens to this show and he thinks I'm cool, and then he hears me say
Cincinnati Bengals great Chris Collinsworth listens to the Serial Chillers.
Maybe he likes true crime and trivia, dude. You don't know.
Yeah, I don't.
True.
You're right.
And
Fingers crossed.
And if you can't hear this, Chris Collinsworth, you fucking suck.
Such a prolific message you provided him.
It's important to let people know where they stand with you.
Long story short, Chris Collinsworth sucks. Thank you, Kelly G, for all the help this season and on this episode. Holy shit.
Watch her be a Bengals fan and just be like, you guys are on your own.
She's like, fuck you, man. I just took away access to all those PDFs I sent you, fuckface. So, Zodiac Killer never caught, and there's no one to concretely identify him or identify themselves. Everything is left to speculation in this case, including what crimes were actually committed by the Zodiac. When you hear about the crimes of the Zodiac, you hear the word confirmed thrown around quite a bit. But let's be very clear, none of these things are confirmed at all. The correct term would be widely believed, which I like better anyway, so give it to me. So a lot of these crimes are widely believed. And again, it's an unsolved murder, so we can't be positive of anything. Question number 2. How many attacks is the Zodiac widely believed to be responsible for? This one is open-ended as well. 250 points to the closest.
All right.
It's a Jaxx this time.
So I feel like, I've listened to a lot of true crime, guys, and this is such a big one, but I can't remember anything I ever heard about it.
That's the great thing about this is like we can catch you off guard with some of the big cases
like it's such a good one, and I'm like, oh fuck, I should know this.
If you haven't boned up in a while,
right? Okay, I'm gonna say I feel like it was a lot, but I'm gonna go with like 35.
35 attacks. Panda.
I think it was a lot too, but I'm gonna go with like 54.
Ooh, let me get a guess in.
Go for it, Greg.
7. No. 12. No.
12.
7.
Going back down to 7. Okay. 250 points to Greg.
Damn.
Because it is. Jack's gonna get the points. Greg doesn't get shit, but it is widely believed that the Zodiac committed, believe this or not, 4 attacks.
Wow.
He was just
a
quick
case.
about
We're
it.
still talking about literally 50. We're over 50 years out, 55 years out this year, and it's 4 attacks.
Hell, Otis Toole killed more people than that in the Florida Panhandle.
Rest in peace, John Walsh's son. It is widely believed the Zodiac committed 4 attacks and sent upwards of 20 letters. But the thing is, he could be responsible for approximately 50 attacks and 32 letters. So you guys are in the wheelhouse for sure. But there are 4 that it's like
for sure, pretty much.
It's like, God damn it, this is as close to sure as we can be. And the rest are like, fucking could be, dude. Totally could be.
4 attacks and that's 20 letters.
Yeah.
That's the same thing with the little with the letters, is that they have 20 total letters and 4 attacks. They're like, this has got to be him. Like, handwriting experts, this and that, the time and place. We're almost positive it's him. Then they've got an additional 46 attacks and 12 additional letters that they're either sure are copycats or could possibly be the Zodiac himself. So there's a lot of there's a lot of fucky around this.
So it's
Yeah.
not that he was a serial killer who liked to write letters. It sounds to me like he was an author who just killed people.
Well, he's just one of these dudes. It's just like every time they write something, you're like, shut the fuck up,
Bro,
dude.
he
God.
made up. He
Except
wrote it
Danny
in
Rolling.
Like,
Yeah,
he wrote it
I
in fucking
guess.
wingdings.
Yeah, and I still say shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
The only good thing any serial killer ever did was Danny Rolling's Mystery Rider. That song slaps so
Absolute
hard.
banger.
That song slaps so hard. I mean, listen, nothing else. He's a heinous individual, but he's a mystery writer. What's your name?
So heinous.
That was beautiful.
He's a drifter, a killer gone insane.
Hell
That
yeah,
song
dude.
fucking rips.
That was
Dude.
so good.
Why is that not on Guitar Hero?
Like legit, like there are covers on YouTube and stuff because like obviously his recordings are like he set down a tape recorder and recorded it.
Yeah.
But people have gone back and re-recorded it, and I'm like, yeah, I'll fucking do a YouTube playlist of this song and just hear all the renditions, my guy. And that's a real thing that I've done. So you enjoy yourself. You just see all my comments. You're like, man, I think I got the same playlist as Jesse. Fuck yeah, dude. Sweet cover. Hell yeah, bro. Keep up the good work. Okay. Get back on track, you guys. So as you can imagine, Wikipedia has the best quote to sum this up. The entire situation we're talking about here. There is no consensus on the number of victims that the Zodiac had or the length of his criminal spree. As you can imagine, all of the major agencies have lent their expertise to this case, and for over 50 years, the public and armchair detectives have also lent their opinions. So we should also open our mind to the theory of a guy named Thomas Horan. He's not a law enforcement expert, but he's got a very particular set of skills. And he came to a conclusion. Then there's a guy named Andrew Knock who made a documentary, and it was called The Myth of the Zodiac, and that was in 2020. So Thomas Horan was an insurance investigator. So, he's an investigator of some sort, at least. He's got an idea on the way the process takes place.
Yeah, there's a certain way that you have to investigate things. Like you can't just go and like walk around a crime scene with your hands behind your back, kicking stuff over and being like, is
touching
this...
stuff.
Yeah, look at the blood splatter. What do you think that
You're
means?
supposed to have gum on your shoes, I think, is a thing.
Everybody calls you a dick.
Smoke a cigarette on the crime scene.
Hell yeah, dude. Just contaminate everything.
Why are you calling me Dick? My name is Thomas.
Willem Dafoe in Boondock Saints.
Yes. So he hated seeing people get away with fraud and murder. Who doesn't? So he went and got his degree and became an English professor, but he also became an author. And at some point, he also worked in a bank and saw a lot of forgery. Like, this is a fucking Renaissance man right here, huh?
So he's like, I'm tired of frauds. I'm going to go hang out with authors.
Yeah, I'm tired of this insurance investigation. The fender bender my ass. I'm writing a novel.
You were texting.
What's texting? It's 1968, sir.
Oh, fucking time travelers.
So he's an English professor, an author. He worked at a bank, and he was an insurance investigator. His claim is that there was not a serial killer active at the time. There was no single killer for all these attacks. He claims the person writing the letters did not commit any of the crimes, just some dude kind of getting off on getting some attention around the crimes. He claims that the Zodiac Killer is a literary invention. He wrote a book called Zodiac, Hoax of 1969, a literary investigation. It's fucking just what a title. The documentary Myth of the Zodiac asks another Zodiac expert if he would debate Thomas Horan, and he said, quote, "No, you might as well debate a ham sandwich," end quote. So take that however you want to.
I'm taking that
Thomas
as one of the
Horan is
sickest.
respected as much as a ham sandwich.
I'm taking that as one of the sickest serial killer investigator burns I've ever heard. Fucking ham sandwich.
But it gives you an idea of like what the Zodiac investigation is like. Is like there's a lot of infighting.
It sounds like it sounds like the UFO community. A lot of people,
or like the Star Wars community, or like it's like everybody's got his toxic side, and
everybody's got their own opinion and they're all right and you're
Yeah.
wrong, and then they're gonna argue about it and call you shit like a ham sandwich.
bro, like, listen, I'm old enough to remember when everybody thought the prequels were bad, and now everybody's like, this is new Disney shit, and it's like, yo, just shut up and enjoy it, or don't. All right, like. We don't got to fight about this.
Okay.
It was Thomas Horan. No, he's a ham sandwich. I'm Andrew Knock.
I love it.
So yeah, it's fucking stupid. So Thomas Horan said the ballistics don't match. Nothing matches. The fingerprints don't match. The witness and survivor accounts don't match. Filmmaker Andrew Knock asks him, quote, so all of these investigators and journalists and web sleuths are all wrong. Thomas Horan says, bingo. He says the only evidence that it was one killer was the letters. Another expert puts it bluntly, though, the realm of possibility is infinite.
Yeah.
You can come up with any narrative you want because it was never solved. You can say literally whatever you want, and it's plausible.
The truth is out there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
I've heard that.
How many times? That's right.
God, I'm a good producer.
How many times have
perfect.
right? You don't even need me anymore. How many times have I said in the vacuum of power, people start speculating, or the vacuum of information, people start speculating, and like when there's so little information that's publicly available,
especially in a 55-year-old case,
people are gonna start filling in the vacuum with whatever they can. They're like, oh yeah, it was this guy, it was that guy, it was this, it was that, but because it why couldn't it be? And that's the same. Like I said, this feels an awful lot like a UFO story, because that's a lot of UFO stuff too. Is like, fucking, why not?
You just ready to hear Betty and Barney Hill's name get dropped at some point?
Seriously, she's like, yeah, I saw the Zodiac and
Mothman, and they were all there.
Here's a map.
Yeah, I think
here's a map.
We had a party.
Sounds like a fun party.
So let's get into crime number one. We're going to dive into the widely believed crimes of the Zodiac Killer, starting with the first crime here in Benicia, California on December 20th, 1968. It was a couple on their first date. Question number 3. 2 of these names are the correct names of the couple. 2 are incorrect. 250 points for each correct answer. So 4 names. 2 of them are the couple. 2 of them are main names that I made up. A. Betty Lou Jensen. B. Thelma Thompson. C. Alex Palomino. And D. David Faraday. Betty Lou Jensen. I want to hear the real names of these victims. Betty Lou Jensen, Thelma Thompson, Alex Palomino, or David Faraday. So possible 500 points on this one, and this is odd, so this would be Pandah's answer first.
I think it was it Thelma and David?
All right, she's saying Thelma Thompson and David Faraday. Jax, of course you're going to answer the exact same if you
That's
like.
literally no, but that's what I was gonna say, because they just sound the most realistic. But
Right?
those
Sure.
are probably the ones that you made up, because that's what always happens to me at home. So
Which means I'm doing it right, damn it. Okay,
yeah,
so
you're doing good.
You want to do the same thing? Go for that 500 points?
Yeah.
Okay, so both answer Thelma Thompson and David Faraday. Both of you will receive 250 points. David Faraday was the male victim. However, Thelma Thompson, figment of my imagination. Betty Lou Jensen. And I threw Alex Palomino in there just because it's like, whoa, is Alex a guy? Is it a girl? Betty Lou Jensen was 16 years old. David Faraday was 17. These were fucking children. They told their parents that they were going to a school function, but instead went to a friend's house, then a restaurant to have a Coke. That is probably the most classic excuse as a child. You're like, I'm staying after school because they're doing the thing with the guy or whatever. And your parents are like, all right, whatever, I'll see you at 4:30. And you're like, hell yeah, bitch, I got 2 hours.
Let's go get some
freedom.
Coke.
Yeah, dude, about to go do some coke in the 60s.
Wait, did you mean Coca-Cola? Or like, what are you doing?
You guys smell cocaine?
So after their Coca-Colas,
Still had cocaine in it at the time, I'm pretty sure.
it was 1968, not 1868. They went driving to David's mom's Rambler station wagon.
Hell
Badass
yeah.
car. Right? See, Greg knows. And they pulled over to park on Lake Herman Road. This place they parked in is typically referred to as Lover's Lane. Hey. We don't actually know what happened because, unfortunately, both of them died, but there are signs that another vehicle pulled up alongside them and a man got out. Shots were fired into the back window and the roof, and at some point, the victims got out of the passenger side of the car. David was shot once in the head, and Betty Lou was shot 5 times in the back. Betty Lou made it approximately 30 feet from the car before falling down. It looked as though someone had possibly ordered them out of the car, and David was shot on his way out. So, car pulls up on the driver's side. They're in the back seat. Come on, they're in Lover's Lane. We're not going to judge here.
They were
Station
drinking
wagon,
their
dude.
Coca-Cola.
Yeah, having their Coca-Cola, right. This time with a malt, huh? Really, give it a twist. We're just jumping all over the time. We're just jumping all over the fucking time frame here, and none of them are correct. That's the best part. So he pulls up. Some shots are fired through the roof and through the back window, which leads a lot of investigators to believe that he pulls up, climbs over the driver's side, kind of shoots over the car into their car. They, seeing where the shots are coming from, either climb out or are forced out by the driver of that vehicle. And on the way out of the vehicle, David Faraday is just basically executed. So as he's crawling out from the back seat. So one shot to the back of the head. Betty Lou either took off running or, someone said, go, run. And as she ran and got about 30 feet from the car, was gunned down. Like I said, 5 shots to the back.
Oof.
So,
Which 30 feet's not that far.
No, it's not.
Like
it's 5 or 6 steps.
I was gonna say
big ones.
5 or 6 running steps. Yeah. Like that's, and I would think after 1 or 2 shots,
even if she were small, that's 13 steps. Yeah,
and after a couple, you're still probably going for a few more steps after a couple of shots. So like, they just opened fire right away. Whoever it was,
Well, I also don't have this as a question later, so I can mention that one of the reasons that a lot of people thought the Zodiac was accurate was that he tied a pin flashlight to the barrel of his gun.
Mm-hmm.
So he could go out in the pitch black and basically whatever the flashlight was hitting, the bullets were going to hit or very near. So, early laser sight, huh? So, terrible scene. Basically, a woman's going to pass the scene and see the aftermath and go to get police, and police would arrive at 11:28 p.m. David, at the time the police arrived, was alive, but he died before he got to the hospital. What is with, I feel like a lot of recent episodes we've done in the last, I'll say, year, with motherfuckers, and I know he didn't survive eventually, but surviving for some time, these being shot in the head. Remember the David Berkowitz? He drove away. Got shot in the head and was like, I gotta get out of here. Like, what? I don't do that without a hole in the head. I panic.
People were built tougher back then. Like the younger generations were all soft.
They were just built get shot in the head tougher.
Yeah, dude. So I've had this theory for a while that when you're young, you start shooting yourself in the leg or whatever with pellet guns, and then work your way up to a 22, 38, 9mm, 45, so on and so forth, just till eventually you build up a tolerance, and then
So you can't be like, bullets, my only weakness.
yeah, like you'll have a tolerance. Like, you know how like some people take a little bit of arsenic every day so they can never die from arsenic poisoning because it would take so much that they would notice it. Like,
God.
not that I do that.
Greg just shoots himself every day.
Look-
We're up to 50 caliber now.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm in the next couple weeks here, we're moving up to tank rounds.
Oh, God.
We're
They
gonna figure it out. It's gonna be a good time.
they hurt, but I'm here.
Jesus. Okay. So, police are going to notice a few things about this. There is a witness who claims to have seen David's Rambler station wagon with a car parked next to it at 11 p.m. The woman who sees the aftermath sees it at 11:06. So the attacks supposedly took place between 11 and 11:06, where 6 shots are fired and nobody noticed anything. This was the first time in 5 years that there was a murder in this area, so cops are like very overwhelmed and underprepared by this situation. They knew it wasn't a robbery motive because nobody had anything taken from them, and Betty Lou had not been molested. Like, all her clothes are all still on. There's no sign of any sexual assault or anything like that. They found bullet casings, and one of the bullet casings was where the car would have been from the witness's statement at 11 p.m. Basically, to the left side, driver's side of the Rambler wagon. The bullet casings are near the car. Things match up with the witness statement. Also, this could just suggest that someone fired over the top of a second car, meaning there also could have been someone on the passenger side of a second car.
Gang style.
Yeah, so pull one car up, shoot over it from a second car. Though the Zodiac will claim responsibility for this murder, he won't do it until after he commits another crime in a letter in August of 1969. So basically, right now, police are fucking stumped. This crime happens, and they got nothing.
So somebody shooting over the car makes sense with the bullet holes in the roof.
It also does to me if the Zodiac's alone, pulls up to the driver's side, which he did, gets out, and shoots over his car, right?
Right.
Oh, so you're saying he, like, I was thinking pulled up next to them, like facing the
And
same
shot through the
direction.
window.
Well, if they suggest that he wasn't alone, somebody comes out of the passenger side and shoots over the car. They're shooting, like, got to be far enough out to miss their own car and then still get that window. So the
Yeah, you're
first
not
view
wrong.
probably could have gone in through the top of the car.
I think either are a good reason that could be. If he didn't pull up with the window down and shoot out of the cab, but instead opened the driver's side door, stood up, and shot over the car, and like, I don't know how far your guys' vehicle knowledge goes. Mine doesn't go really deep, but I know that in 1968 there basically were not small cars. Like, that
No.
wasn't really a thing.
Yeah, that makes
Then,
sense.
like, the smallest cars were pretty fucking clunky by today's standards.
Yeah, if you got into an accident, you would be fine in those ones.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They were all made of fucking steel.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there's and I love that we're having this discussion because we're all kind of like picturing the scene in our minds and like, oh, why would it be that way? This, that, the other thing. And there's another reason that they talk about a 2-vehicle theory, and we'll kind of get there too. To give all of the options a voice, Thomas Horan believes 2 people arrived in the second car. He believes the killer was the passenger of the second car, and the kids were killed because David Faraday was quote-unquote the hero type. He was an Eagle Scout, and he was going to snitch on drug pushers at his high school. At this time, drug arrests in the area were up 400%. Remember, the Summer of Love was 1967 and 68. And this is basically marked by the assassinations of RFK and MLK Jr. So we're like the Summer of Love is getting burned out, and those hippies are getting arrested now. Like, we're putting an end to these goddamn hippies dancing in the street. Faraday basically is one of those dudes that's like, yeah, I ain't nobody going to be having drugs around me or my friends. Faraday had recently been in a physical altercation at the Pancake House with a young quote-unquote punk from his high school. I wonder what a late 1960s punk looks like.
Rolled up sleeves on a white t-shirt, slick back hair, walking everywhere going,
They look like the fawns without a lotion. Got a rocket in his pocket.
hey, for what it's worth, 1968, that was Nixon in the White House. So he,
Rough.
yeah, no wonder the drug arrests were up.
Yeah, no fucking
He
joke.
and Hoover were jerking each other off, trying to get like pump the numbers and justify their positions. Haru.
So basically this punk is apparently pushing the drugs. David fucking not down like white knights and says, yo, you're pushing drugs and I'm gonna put a stop to it.
Oh no, you don't.
Yeah.
You can't have any fun.
We're gonna have
You better believe I am going to.
we're gonna rumble in the street.
Yeah. He like starts combing his hair in the middle of the fight.
Meet me at Dead Man's Point.
Bring your mom's Cadillac. So basically, Haran's saying like, "Yo, this wasn't a random serial murder. What you're seeing here is like a couple kids who killed another kid to keep him from snitching about drugs. Like the odds are much higher that that's the case than that they're just in the wrong place at the wrong time and they were stumbled upon by a serial killer."
I can't get in trouble for drugs. Better kill the guy.
Police did receive tips on this angle of the crime. Unfortunately, in the 1960s, it was basically much easier to get away with murder. If no one saw you do it, you're pretty much cool.
No witnesses.
Right? Yeah. Just slipping into the forest like goodbye. That'll bring us to our second crime. We're going to spend a little bit longer on this one. Maybe not, because we got a lot of sidetracks on that one. We'll see. There's a little more eyewitness information for this. This took place on July 4th, 1969, when Darlene Farron, who was 22 and married at the time to a man named Dean Farron, parked with a man who was not her husband, named Michael Mageau, who was 19, at Blue Rock Spring Park. Question number 4. What type of car did Darlene Farron drive? Was it A, a Chevy Corvair, B, an AMC Hornet, C, a Chrysler Newport, or D, a Dodge Coronet? Or some people might pronounce it Coronet, but they would be wrong. Chevy Corvair, AMC Hornet, Chrysler Newport, or a Dodge Coronet?
I'm gonna say A.
The Chevy Corvair.
Yeah.
Panda.
I'm gonna say C.
C, the Chrysler Newport. All of these are fantastic cars. I encourage you all to go look up this year and models of vehicle. They're just so fun. But the true answer was Panda's Chevy Corvair.
Very nice.
A brown Chevy Corvair. A lot of brown vehicles represented
Wait,
in.
wait. Didn't Jaxx say the Corvair?
Jaxx
I said
did
A.
say-
Yeah.
Yes, Jack said the Corvair, and that's how I scored it too. I just said Panda because I'm. Let's just call it moderately dyslexic. Things are happening backwards in my head.
Hey, I had no idea. I was like, yep, cars. Yeah.
Yeah,
Car
I think I don't
names.
know what any of those look like.
Right. I'm Googling it right now. I want to see
No
what it looks
They're
like.
they're all just old ugly cars.
Yeah, they
The
really
AMC
are.
Hornet might have been one of the smaller ones from that year.
Oh, remember the AMC Gremlin, the Mirthmobile?
I do because
Wayne's World.
when I was like
I feel like I've seen
4
yeah.
years old, my mom made a left-hand turn into an uncontrolled intersection, and we were T-boned by someone who was going straight because my mom made the illegal turn
Oh,
in the driver's side door where I was sitting without a car seat, and I don't believe that I was wearing a seatbelt either, as I rather vividly remember just sort of being bounced around the vehicle.
Oof.
But looking back, I think that actually may have saved me because that passenger door was crunched in pretty hard.
jeez.
Ugh.
So I think getting like punted across the car, like while painful at 4 years old,
Oh, no.
probably saved me from getting smushed into the. So thank you, AMC Gremlin,
Also-
and your not making me put on a seatbelt because you didn't have a light to tell anybody I
You
wasn't wearing one.
just made my point for me that I made earlier when I said people were tougher back then. Like, their generation could survive getting shot in the head. We could survive being T-boned. I don't know what the next generation can survive. We'll just have to see.
Nothing. According to my kids, everything is the end of the fucking world.
Yeah, I feel like kids are just soft nowadays.
Greg's turned into an old head, y'all.
They're on my lawn, dude, and I can't stand it.
That's what happens when you live on a corner lot, dude. They cut across.
Yeah,
They cut across.
That's true. Those monsters.
So, in their brown Chevy Corvair, they go to another similar lover's lane. This is not the same one that we talked about in the first one.
Got a lot of lovers' lanes.
Yeah, there's too many. We're
Shit,
getting
yo,
confused.
everybody's got a place they go to try to mac. It was not really clear what they were up to because, like, again, she was married and seemed quite faithful. And when they were found, they were both fully clothed. Michael would later admit that he was in love with her, but who knows? Spoiler alert, Michael lives through this attack. This time, a car pulled up beside Darlene's Corvair, and it sat there for a second and then pulled away. Fucking weirdo, you know? That's what we'd all be saying. Like,
Right.
yeah,
Creep.
good thing I didn't have to pull out my 9 and pop one off.
Pull us
then
back
the car
up. Did you say
comes,
something?
and
No,
then the car came back and pulled in behind Darlene's Corvair. Michael later said the car behaved in a way he believed a cop car would behave. The driver got out, shone a bright flashlight on the two, and then opened fire. Michael was hit and jumped into the back seat. Darlene was shot several times more than Michael. When the killer was walking back to his car, he heard Michael screaming in pain and came back and shot him again. Like, well, why not? Though he wasn't dead, Michael knew better than to scream again, and the man left. 3 teenagers drove up and saw Michael, who had pulled himself out of the car, lying on the ground. They called 911, and a dispatcher named Nancy Slover answered about 12:10 a.m., and they sent squad cars out. When the cops arrived, Darlene's headlights were on and one blinker, and Michael had been shot in the jaw, shoulder, and leg. Question number 5. How long did it take for the police to arrive? The call was made at 12:10 a.m. The police are on the scene at, you don't have to tell me the time, tell me how many minutes or hours or seconds. Shit, how fast were they? Open-ended. This is an odd, so I believe this is Panda's first. You can take a moment. You don't have to snap to your answer.
I think 40 minutes.
Okay, 40 minutes.
I want to say 2 hours.
2 hours.
2 people with faith in the police force at the time.
Hey, it took them like an hour and a half to get to me in a hit and run, and like they literally drove past and then didn't come back. So like
they're like, oh, there it is. Yeah, no thanks.
Right.
Well, Panda, a little closer because the cops showed up at the scene at 12:38, 28 minutes later.
Oh dang!
So
better than we thought.
That is way better than we thought.
They were on it. They were bored.
We got to get to this call. You're right. Better finish this breakfast and coffee, and then we'll go.
Gotta finish our donuts first.
Right?
So 28 minutes, the records indicate. The cops from the scene were interviewed, and one remembered that Mejao was wearing a lot of clothes, multiple layers on the 4th of July, they noted. Police said Darlene was trying really hard to say something before she died, but couldn't get it out. Nancy Slover answered another call at about 12:40. She's the 911 operator. The caller said in a monotone voice, I want to report a double murder. If you'll go 1 mile east on Columbus Parkway to the public park. At this point, Nancy interrupted him to ask a question, but the caller continued. You'll find the kids in a brown car. They were shot with a 9mm Luger, and I also killed those kids last year. Goodbye. And this is a time before they record all the 911 calls, so there's no recording of this, but there's a lot of recreations. And I watched a documentary today, and basically every documentary has a recreation of it today. The guy who did the one from today, that's the winner. Like, it was when he did, because everybody, it's said that he was sing-songy in saying goodbye, so a lot
That's
of
so
them just like really
gross.
play it up, but this guy was like, goodbye. And I was just like, yep, that's how he would have done it. That's it. That's Zodiac. I fucking hear him. I can tell, man. So
Well, hold on. You said it
again,
was a 9mm Luger,
yeah,
the German gun.
yeah,
Sick, dude.
yeah. They do look pretty cool. The Zodiac used it, and so did Hitler on his own stupid head.
That's just a fucking cool, like, old timey gun.
Yeah.
I just had to look it up because I was like, is that what I'm thinking of?
In 1968, it like wasn't. He's like, this gun's 18 years old. So basically, it has been described as sing-songy. Nancy said it was actually just like a really creepy goodbye. When she like does her impersonation of it, it does sound creepy, but it doesn't sound as sing-songy really as anybody does the impressions of it. So take it how you will. I like to think he was fucking extra creepy and like Scream Ghost. It's like, yeah, what's your favorite scary movie?
Sir, this is 911. It's a felony to abuse 911.
Oh yeah, sorry about that. Goodbye.
Try it again, but a little more sing-songy.
Goodbye.
Starts doing a side step.
Goes full Linda Belcher.
So it's fucking creepy. The guy's fucking creepy. He's self-reporting now too, which what a fucking douche. Here's how the best self-report. Don't murder people, and then you don't have to say anything.
True.
Yeah.
The murder scene is 12 minutes max away from the phone booth that they traced the call to. It took 40 minutes for the guy to call in the documentary. This is Zodiac speaking. In 2007, they interviewed Michael Maggio, the survivor in the case. He is pretty hard to understand, but he says a car had been chasing him all night, and when he asked about it, Darlene said, quote, he's just jealous. So it's hard to understand Maggio in 2007 because it's 45 years after. This dude's like well into his 70s. He's lost a lot of the spark that once was. Also, the Zodiac shot him
in the face.
So, there's that.
Like specifically in the mouth, yeah?
Yeah. In the jaw, you are correct. The interviewer does say, you didn't tell the cops? And Michael says, oh, yeah, I must have forgot. So his story basically, like, over time has changed. In 1969, he told him the guy had brown hair, but in his new interview, he tells him it was jet black curly hair. Not to judge the old guy because we don't, like, who knows what sort of trauma your brain would go through after, like, almost being murdered. But his story doesn't seem incredibly reliable any longer.
Yeah.
Can we just say?
Yeah, he's forgotten a couple of items.
You hate to be like, I know you were sort of there and the attempted murder happened to you, but we don't believe you. Fuck.
Prove it. I mean, I'm not saying you're lying,
shit.
but prove it.
It seems I've lost all credibility. So, some examples, he says, like, the guy may have had glasses. No, I remember he definitely had glasses. He talks about Darlene dying before the cops got there, but she didn't die until she was in an ambulance on the way to the hospital. They then ask him about how long the shooting before the cops showed up. He says that it took 9 hours, and then he goes, 4 hours. And then he said that some people came and they would not call the cops. Basically, the first people that came along called the cops. Police were there in less than an hour after the attack.
Hey, less than 30 minutes. That shit was free.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was
yeah.
really.
So, I mean, again, he's sort of an old timer at this point. We're talking 2007. He was attacked in 1969. Um, the story just doesn't seem. Things aren't really fucking adding up anymore over there in Michael Maggio's mind. So, again, that's just a few more interesting things about this. In 1969, Michael told the cops that he thought the shooter's car was brown like the Corvair that they were in that night. Darlene and her sister went to see Dean at work at the restaurant that night, and her sister said Darlene was arguing with a person in the parking lot. Dean was her husband. She was with Michael. Dean is her husband. So let's entertain Thomas Horan for a second. Remember this fucking guy. He has another suspect, but surprisingly, it isn't Dean Farron, the husband. Um, they interviewed Dean Farron, who was a cook at the time, and he was clocked in. He has an alibi, and he says, "quote She liked to go out and dance, but I worked nights, so I couldn't go. I don't believe she was whoring around." And to be fair, Darlene had gone to see Dean at work twice that night during his shift, but then there's this guy, Jim Phillips or Jim Crabtree. He seemed to use both fucking names, so you pick what you want to call him. I like Crabtree personally, but I'm going to call him Phillips because I feel like it just doesn't give him as much zhuzh, you know?
Can we just call him Philip Crabtree?
Yeah, there we go. You fucking old JPC. So JPC was the woman that Darlene was married to before Dean. They had a very rough relationship, Dean recalled, because at one point, Dean and JPC and Darlene were living in a hotel together, and Jim wouldn't let her sleep in the bed and slapped her around quite a bit. Dean said that he kind of rescued Darlene from Jim. Jim had a record and drove a car just like the one that Michael claims to have seen that night.
Ooh.
Jim was interviewed as well, and he says about Darlene, "When I met her, I felt like I got lucky." He said that they had been together for a year, moved to New York, and when it was over, he decided he needed to bring Darlene back to her parents. He claims that's why they were living in the motel. He said the next thing I knew, she was in love with a guy, so he left. So that was her falling in love with Dean. When asked about that night, July 4th, 1969, Jim said he knew exactly where he was. Question number 6. Why was Jim so sure of his location on July 4th, 1969? Is it because A, he always spent it with his nephews blowing things up? B, because he always spent it with his mom? C, he always got blackout drunk? Or D, he always did acid? So for one of these reasons, he remembers July 4th of every year because he always spends them with his nephews blowing things up, spending it with his mom, getting blackout drunk, or doing acid. I mean, 3 of those 4 are pretty standard American fare for the 4th of July.
Yeah, I don't know why people insist on getting moms involved in 4th of July.
So it is evens. I believe that is Jaxx first.
I think I'm gonna say getting blackout drunk.
Getting blackout drunk as one does on the 4th of July. Panda.
Sometimes.
I'm gonna go with A. Blowing
A,
things
spending it
up.
with his nephews, blowing things up. Those are both good reasons to remember the 4th of July every year.
D.
However, JPC was very sure of his location because he took acid every year on the
Oh.
4th of July
It only makes
during
sense.
that time of his life. So he was alone on Boulder Creek Road tripping balls.
Doing acid. All right.
So I mean that's his his excuse.
Just imagine
I don't
being
think-
like 6 years old, 7 years old, fucking around on Boulder Creek Road with a sparkler writing your name in the sky, and then you turn around and there's just a grown man who lives in a motel on acid standing there in your street.
Yeah.
Like, do you guys see
Yeah.
that?
He's like, you see those letters too, right? And you're like, yo, I'm making them, dude.
Just gonna say, it might be the first time that someone on acid is more afraid of you than you are of them.
So gotta understand.
Okay, so Jim is fucking weird, dude. He claims that he did acid that night, so he couldn't have been there for the murder. He says that he saw a family and said hello, but his alibi actually comes from his new wife, who was not there that night. So I don't know how she corroborates the story, but
She
there you
says, I
fucking
dropped
go.
him off on Boulder Creek Road with a sheet of acid.
Said,
He had
have
it tucked
fun.
behind his headband. He said, "This is where I'm going to sweat it out, baby."
He had a big bottle of water.
So right here in the documentary is where Jim starts to say some fucking weird stuff and like start to really get like Jim says that the last time he saw Darlene, he said something like, "Whatever happened here, you're going to get it 9 times over." Then he reminds the camera that she was shot 9 times. Like he didn't like say it and then like wait for someone to put it together at some point. He says, "This is what I said to her," and then he goes, remember like how many times she was shot?
Oh.
If I
Because that's
did
not
it, here's
suspicious.
how.
Right?
Right. He then tells the documentary makers that he was trained as a cryptographer in the army. Thomas Horan says, quote, "That's bullshit. He was a clerk typist and he was stationed in Germany for a couple of years." So why the fuck would JPC lie? Thomas Horan, when you go into the military, it's not hard unless you go into some top secret or clandestine. It's public record. You find out what rank people hold. It's like, so when you say I was this, like you can find out if someone was that. Same thing with college. It's like it's a very easily checked thing.
But he seems like a guy who doesn't have a lot going for him. You know?
So we're just giving this to him.
No, what I'm saying
Oh,
is he
okay.
seems like a guy who doesn't have.
Just let him have it.
Yeah, he's probably the Zodiac. I feel bad for him. He needs a win. No, like he just seems like he doesn't have a lot going, so he's probably out here like, yeah, it's me, knowing that it's not, knowing that he'll never be caught.
Come on, let me get a starring role in this documentary.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, they're putting me in front of the camera.
I'll say some weird stuff for fame. At this point, I'm 72, bitch.
Yeah, his hair was curly brown.
The weirdest part of all of it, like if you just look up a clip from this doc, look up the part where they ask him just straight to the face, "Did you kill Darlene?" He says no, but then he starts laughing, and then it just kind of holds on him laughing for like 20 seconds.
Ooh, that's so long,
scary.
dude. That's so long.
Yeah.
Is he like open-eyed laughing, like looking at the camera?
Yeah. No. It's just like, hey, I'm lying, laughing.
He's just really tickled by it. Did he do the deep breath?
the Ace Ventura explaining something breath. So, listen. Thomas Horan thinks it's pretty likely that JPC is the killer. They make the point that all of the Zodiac's crimes, the person really wanted Darlene dead. Like, a lot of them are like, oh, okay, 5 shots in the back. Like, yeah, if someone's running away, you got to make sure they go down. 5 shots, 1 shot to the head. He's been pretty concise up to now. Like 9 shots signifies anger.
Yeah,
like,
that's personal.
That's a crime of passion, right?
Is that
a personal attack?
Is it like 9 shots equals like 4 stab wounds, or?
Yeah, I don't. We have to pull a chart up on that.
What's the conversion rate?
Yeah. It's like anytime I had to explain the McDonald triad ever. It's just like, I don't know. It exists. Don't ask me. That should be a t-shirt. It just like is a triangle with question marks on each corner.
It really should.
3 wrong things.
Yeah. So by the time they catch up with Jim, the letters have come out, so that now they need him to fit the letters by handwriting. And other crimes. Having a single serial killer takes heat off of the people who actually had motive. Letters part 1. After these first 2 crimes, or at least the crimes that are like, we're going to call them, what do we call them?
Attributed?
We gave them an official term earlier. I can't remember what it is, but yeah. Maybe involved with the Zodiac. On August 1st, 1969, almost identical letters
widely
were
believed.
Widely believed. Thank you. By the San Francisco Examiner and San Francisco Chronicle and the Vallejo Times Herald. All three y'all remember that because I'm not gonna. The letters were sent from San Francisco. So postmarked from San Francisco, they arrived almost identical. So almost identical, we say, because like he didn't make one and then copy it 2 times and send that out. He hand wrote 3 different letters that were nearly identical. Basically, the letters said, "Here's some facts. I used Super X ammo at Lake Herman and I fired 10 shots there. This is how the bodies were placed in both crimes." In both crimes. Sorry. So basically, his letters are they're revealing information that quote unquote only the killer would know. He tells them to print this cipher I made on the front page, or I'm going to murder 12 people. The cipher contains my identity. Question number 7. The cipher got an official name. What was it? Is it A, Cipher 408, B, the original letter, C, the coded signal, or D, Zodiac Gold? It is an odd, so this is Pandas.
Dibs
I
on the
think
name
it's
Zodiac Gold for my rap alias too.
I think it's C.
The coded signal. Jaxx.
I also was gonna say C, but I feel like I should say something else. What was
It
A
is a
again?
tie. A is Cipher 408.
Hmm. I feel like C just makes sense, guys. So we're just gonna
Stick with
C.
it. You
Yeah.
got to go with your gut in this show.
Right. I
Yeah,
always
like-
mess up when I don't.
Well,
Right?
and that's the strategy. Like, there is a strategy to going first and second. Like, if there is an advantageous point where, like, I'm not losing this fucking lead, and you're going second, you just answer the same as that person. And we're kind of Greg and I have been liking how that's working out. So
Yeah.
whether that's how you do it or not, hey,
I've
listen.
been enjoying like watching people figure out how to play it, and they're like,
I better not do that here.
yeah.
Well, you guys were gonna get the same either way here, but it's gonna be 0. The name got a simple but lasting name. Cipher 408. So Greg, Zodiac Gold is all yours.
Yeah, boy.
Cipher 408. It is 408 because there are 408 characters in the cipher.
I remember
See?
I remember getting ripped one night and looking up a bunch of ciphers, and I saw Cipher 408 and was like, "Oh, what's that?" and clicked on it and like forgot about it. But when I saw that just now, like I didn't scroll ahead to the answer, and I was like, I wonder if it's Cipher 408
Yeah.
because that sounded
Um,
familiar.
So the reason I say almost identical actually is because he sent letters with 1/3 of the cipher to each of the 3 papers. So identical letters, but each part of the cipher was different. So he wanted 3 different papers to print 3 parts of the cipher on the front page of their papers, or he would kill 12 people. So you got that going for him, which is nice. On August, it's in just one of the papers, the San Francisco Examiner, a representative from the police says that in order to prove it's him, they'll need more information. On August 7th, the letter writer did respond with more information, 3 handwritten pages, so he clearly read at least the very last paper. Weirdly, though, he responded to the San Francisco Chronicle, not the Examiner, where the guy made the request. Where he responded, he also named himself the Zodiac. So if you didn't know,
Can't do
Zodiac
that.
Killer is a self-named bitch.
We got to stop calling him that. You can't give yourself a nickname, dude. Can't give yourself.
So I was gonna say, like, do we need to call him something different now?
Yeah, but not
Yeah, 'cause
Zodiac
that's
Gold.
I
how
feel
it
like we
works.
should.
We're gonna call him the Northern California Bitch Face. What do you think of that, Thomas Horan? Your book's names all sound stupid now. He gave
fucking
himself that name.
ham
You just went with what
sandwich.
he called him? Yeah. Fucking ham sandwich Thomas Horan. Goddamn. The Northern California Bitch Face. 1969's hoax by Ham Sandwich. So, yeah. Fucking, it is a self-given nickname. By what he was revealing, they believe that they had the true killer. he would at least have to be inside the investigation to know some of these points. So let's remember that. Okay, you don't have to be the killer to be inside the investigation. Donald and Betty Harden, two teachers,
Did you just say
solved
Betty and Barney Hill?
Donald and Betty
It's
Harden.
all full circle.
Makes all, oh, my mind. So Donald and Betty Harden were two teachers. They quote unquote solved the first cipher on August 8th. It said with misspellings, I like killing people because it is so much fun. It is more fun than killing wild game in the forest. Forest is spelled with two R's incorrectly. Because man is the most dangerous animal. Dangerous animal, but it's you got danger, and then it says OUE and animal, all A's in there. You didn't put any of the I's. Most dangerous animal of all. To kill something gives me the most thrilling experience. It is even better than getting your rocks of with a girl. The best part of that, best part is THE. They, when I die, I will be reborn in paradise. Paradise with a C. And I have killed will become my slaves. I will not give you my name because you will try to sloy me or atop my collecting of slaves for the afterlife. EBEORITEMETHHPITI. I love what Kelly G says here. She says, so, first of all, is it really solved if there are just 18 letters left at the end? Like, we solved it, but we didn't need any of these. Trust us, they're not part of it.
They were extra.
Yeah, they're in the bag of all the extra hardware.
Yeah, it's like when you finish a dresser and you go like, why do I have 3 washers left? Where did these go? Where the fuck did these? I don't know. Just slap them on at the end. Last screw. That's what. Oh, what do we do with these? I don't know. EBEORIETEMPETHIPIPITTI.
So
Yes.
wasn't there a problem though where he used multiple symbols for multiple letters? So like lowercase a wasn't always the same symbol, and
Well, there's that, and some of these misspellings are very much like missing the letter on a keyboard. So he says that he doesn't want someone to atop him. So ATAOP,
yeah.
like look at your keyboard right next to it.
Whoa.
Paradise, the C and the S are pretty close. I'm not, that could just be a commonly misspelled one. Dangerous just got away from him there.
Yeah.
Spelled it with a French
No, it's
accent.
an E instead of an S though, so it is really just right there.
Paradise with a C is my favorite.
Yeah. It's a paradise, you know. So with so many misspellings, how is anybody supposed to confirm anything? 18 letters left over and a ton of misspellings. Like maybe you didn't crack the cipher. But this is agreed to be like it is solved. So I think there's a group of people, including Kelly G, who are like, yeah, maybe solve it better.
Right.
Like I feel like there are 18 letters and these misspellings doesn't really make sense. Thomas Horan makes an interesting point about the 408 cipher that if it's easy to crack, then what was the point of coding it? Is there a message hidden inside the message? It's in the computer. If so, the cipher has never actually been solved. We take it at surface level, so that the cipher as it has been solved with rippity-dee-dee-dee-dee at the end, it is. That's it. That is that's canon. So Horan also says that the letters are the reason that no one ever got justice. Investigators think the guy who wrote the letters must be the guy who killed the people. So they put up blinders in a way. If they look good for the crime but didn't write the letters, then they don't think it fits. But what if it does? Thomas Horan says. We'll talk about the letters a little more, but first let's talk about the last 2 crimes. September 1969, the first 2 crimes had been 2 miles apart. This one is 36 miles away from that. It barely matches any of the other details of the first 2 attacks. Cecilia Shepard and Brian Hartnell were at Lake Berryessa having a picnic, and it was daylight, not nighttime.
A little different.
What the fuck's happening here? Come on. They were laying on a blanket when Cecilia noticed a man hiding behind some trees. I just always picture like
Very
tree.
Patterson footage.
Yeah, exactly.
Bigfoot in the background.
Brian, who fucking spoiler alert also lives, says that there weren't any public bathrooms. So when she told him about the man, he just figured it was like a dude pissing out in the trees, you know? Eventually, he starts walking up to them, but at this point, he's put on some sort of costume, an executioner style hood with a Zodiac symbol very elaborately sewn into the front. When he walked up, he pointed a gun at them and said, "Don't worry, I just want your car keys and money." He said that he was a convict and that he had killed people before, but was just trying to get to Mexico. Brian offered him the change in his pocket. Question number 8. Deciding the change wasn't good enough, what did the costumed killer do next? Did he A. open fire, B. stab Brian, C. tie the couple up, or D. run when he hears another car approaching? Open fire, stab Brian, tie them up, run when he hears another car approaching.
I'm gonna say D because it's
Run
my
away.
second option, and that's usually the one that's right. Switching it up, guys.
Panda.
What were the options?
Opens fire, stabs Brian, ties them up, or Jax's answer runs when he hears another car approaching.
I think he ran.
He also thinks he ran. All right, this thing's going to stay a tie. The hooded man, after being offered the 80 cents from Brian's pocket, which, come on, 80 cents is like $11 today.
80 whole cents.
The hooded man said, quote, "Actually, I need you to be tied up." When both of the couple were tied up, the hooded man pulled out a knife and immediately started stabbing Brian. He would stab him 6 times, at which point Brian decided he would play dead. He then turned to Cecilia and stabbed her at least 10 times, then calmly walked off. Brian just thought that he was a robber, and Cecilia, still living, helped Brian get untied. And when Brian crawled to the road to get help, So she's been stabbed 10 times. He's been stabbed 6 times. He manages to get the knots to her hands. She manages to untie the knots. Neither of them is in walking shape, so he starts dragging himself up the road after this killer has stabbed them a combined 16 times. Caught up yet?
I would have played dead after the first one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have taken me
Yeah.
6 to learn that.
So, though Cecilia was alive when the cops arrived, she would die 2 days later in the hospital.
Ugh.
I mean, Brian was able to at least try. He saved himself and nearly saved Cecilia. Brian lived, and he even would do an interview from his hospital bed. He said, "When a man is sick, you can't hold it against him," saying basically that he had already forgiven the attacker, I guess. Brian said when he asked the man if his gun was loaded, which he confirmed. So, because remember, he came up with a gun, as is with Zodiac tradition, and switched to the knife once they were tied up. He said that he wanted to continue the dialogue with the man so that he could, quote, squeeze a sociology paper out of it. So there's your answer, Jax,
Yeah.
as to why he continued this conversation with a man who came up threatening them in a costume with a gun. He was like, "Fuck, I'll squeeze a paper out of this fucking window."
Literally, I took sociology classes in college. Yeah.
You're like, "Fuck, I would have actually killed to be held at gunpoint."
No.
Nice.
But I still would have ran. But
So at the Lake Berryessa scene, the killer had written on Brian's car after the attack. He wrote the dates of Lake Herman Road and Blue Rock Springs Park. Then he wrote Lake Berryessa, the date and time, and, quote, by knife. Again, this time, a man called 911. This time around 7:40 p.m. He said, quote, "I want to report a murder. No, a double murder. They're 2 miles north of park headquarters, and they were in a white Volkswagen Carmen Ghia, also fun car. I'm the one that did it. Then he dropped the phone and just let it hang in the phone booth. What'd you say, Greg? Sorry.
Oh no, I just said Carmen Gia. That's a sick car too.
It is a cool car. You guys got lots of stuff to Google when we're done. Don't worry.
Right. Start making a list.
So since he dropped the phone, the 911 operator kept the line open, and officers basically started scanning the entire city looking for a phone booth with a dangling phone. And they found one in Napa. They picked it up and said, "Can you hear me?" And the 911 operators answered in the affirmative. They pulled a palm print off of that phone. And you might be asking, like, what the fuck? Like, what's with the costume? Why did we switch to stabbing? Why are we like still leaving people alive if like you're supposed to be getting better at this as you fucking progress? Also, who's to say the palm print they lifted isn't just like the last palm print because the Zodiac wore gloves and that's the last one that was on there before that?
Right.
Again, what do we say? Like the possibilities are infinite and they will continue to be until the crime is solved. And it's pretty tough to solve a crime where the possibilities are infinite. In searching the scene around Hartnell's car at Lake Berryessa, they found footprints from the car to the victims and back. Question number 9. These prints came from a very specific type of shoe. Which? Is it A, wing walkers, B, brogue boots, C, bowling shoes, or D, golf cleats? Wing walkers, brogue boots, bowling shoes, or golf cleats? Panda.
I'm gonna go with A.
A, wing walkers.
I'm gonna go with D.
D, golf cleats. Panda has moved into the lead with this one because indeed the footprints in the dirt were those of a wing walker boot. These types of military boots were common with people who were in the Navy or the Air Force. They were basically used to their static free soles. So you could walk around on the plane of or the wing of an airplane and not have any static charge buildup, which is bad for the electronics on an airplane.
Yeah, that's pretty cool though.
Interesting pair of boots that I did not know existed until we got into this.
I've never heard of that. But, I was thinking you get some traction with some golf cleats, outside.
I'm fucking with you, dude. I do yard work in my old golf shoes.
Yeah.
So they also found tire marks that were quite unusual. The front tire marks showed that there were 2 different types of tires. This is odd because generally you don't buy 1 tire at a time. You might buy 2. You might buy, I'm going to get new front tires. I'm getting a little more wear up there than I am. Or rotate it, and buy 2. I used to do it like that all the time. But it would be sort of weird to just like have several different types of tires on your car. So that's just something that they noticed about the vehicle. While Brian and Cecilia were still tied up, they call out to a passing fisherman on the lake. One got close enough that they heard them. The fisherman, however, did not stop, but it turns out he did go to the park ranger, who was the one that found Brian close to the road. Speaking of the park ranger, that's where Thomas Horan's theory comes in. Brian Hartnell said on record that when the park ranger found him, he thought the killer had come back. Horan says in his research that he found out the park ranger was out of radio contact for 47 minutes around the time that Brian and Cecilia had been attacked. So you've got Brian going like, "Oh fuck, he's back!" But you're like, "Oh no, it's the fucking forest ranger here to save you." And during this attack, there is a 47-minute gap in time in which this forest ranger was available on the radio. So, additionally, when the park ranger arrived at the murder scene, basically like starts cleaning shit up, packs up the blanket that they're on a picnic, so he packs everything up, gets it real tidy. They say that the park ranger had been a military policeman for 8 years, and he should have and would have known not to touch the fucking murder scene. An investigator said, "You don't ever touch a crime scene because what you're doing is implicating yourself."
Yeah.
Anyway, a Zodiac expert says that there is, quote, "absolutely no evidence that the park ranger did it," and added, quote, "be careful listening to Thomas Horan." So that's our
fucking
second
ham sandwich.
That's our second Zodiac expert, or Northern California bitch face expert, um, to say, yo, I don't know about this fucking Thomas Horan guy. You take what, you could listen to him if you want. I don't know really if I'd believe what you're hearing from Thomas Horan. So the True Crime Garage podcast about this case was released before the Myth of the Zodiac documentary. So they're still working with like the one guy theory. The Myth of the Zodiac would offer up like the second shooter theory, basically. Whoa.
60s were full of second shooter theories.
I noticed you have a second shooter. I have a second shooter too.
Want to talk about second shooters?
So, they say that in the Zodiac's mind, he failed at the Blue Rock Springs attack because Michael didn't die. He was able to identify the perp's face and car, so for his next attack, he would wear a costume and park out of sight. So he is learning. Maybe he didn't kill them all the way like you're supposed to, but he is doing things to further protect. He's wearing a mask. He's parking farther away.
Covering up his name tag on his park ranger uniform.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, what? You got to take the hat off before you go do the killings, you fucking idiot.
How do you think he put the mask on? Puts the hat
so,
on.
They say that the Zodiac's he was able to then who, Greg, where are you? I'm just kidding. Like, we don't know what kind of circles this guy runs in. What kind of, you could just like have basically friends talking about the Zodiac attacks, points out that he's a coward because he ambushes people at night. So he's like, fuck it, I'm going out during the day. I'll show them when the Zodiac attacks. Fucking who the Northern California bitch face is. Yeah. I mean, watch him. So there was no letter claiming Lake Berryessa by the Zodiac, but there was the writing on the card that did match symbols that the Zodiac would use. The last of the confirmed attacks, and again, like,
come on, dude, go full Greg. Use those air quotes, buddy.
It's a term we're not using yet. Confirmed. The style and MO is sort of changing. This time in San Francisco on October 11th, 1969, a taxi driver named Paul Stein picked up a guy and drove him for 10 minutes to the corner of Cherry and Washington Streets near Presidio Heights. The man then shot Paul in the back of the head. Teenagers saw the killer get out of the car, cut a piece from Paul's shirt, and wipe down various parts of the car. The teenagers called police, and it is unclear how, but the police in the area were told to be on the lookout for a black man at this time. So the cops are like, they know a few things. That a dude just shot a taxi driver in the back of the head. He took a trophy as he left, and then it's a black guy. So those are the three pieces of information that they're working with.
I feel like, given the time frame being 1969, the teenagers were like, yo, we saw this guy shoot another guy, and then he took a trophy. He was wearing all black, and the cops were like, black guy, got it.
So in one of the, I don't know if we put it in here, but in one of the documentaries, you're basically like not that far off. That like basically they had a term for it, which also we didn't use. But basically, like when a crime went out, it went out with a code until they removed it that said that it was an African-American male. So, have fun with that. So police are going to question the teenagers who had stuck around. They had seen some shit. And they want to get famous or whatever. So they got a correct description of a white man in a composite sketch that was the most popular today. So they're like, fuck, what the hell? When they finally get to the scene, Paul is dead. He had been shot in the back of the head, and we already had one head wound survivor today. We can't have a second one. That's not allowed. So Paul didn't make it. And basically they've got, like, we saw a killer. Some claim the killer was stopped during the confusion, but released because of the incorrect description. For 2 days, they thought it was a robbery. On the third day, a letter came in claiming this killing. and the letter arrived with a piece of Paul's shirt. A bold claim had been made in the letter. What? That he's going to kill at least 20 more, that his next target is children, that the police did indeed stop him and let him go, or that he will never be caught. So, sends in another cocky ass fucking Northern California bitch face letter and makes a claim. Is it that he's going to kill 20 more? Next target is children, that police did stop him and let him go, or that he will never be caught. This one's Jaxx.
I'm gonna say D.
D, that he will never be. And, you know, he would fucking think that, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
What do you think, Panda?
I think the same.
That he will never be caught.
Yeah.
The letter claimed that the night he killed the taxi driver and took a piece of his shirt, that 2 police officers did indeed stop him, but he was released because they were looking for an African American male.
Mm.
That piece of shit. They had him. They were
literally had him.
so close.
Ugh.
And it's one of those things too where like he couldn't have known unless he was there that they had been stopping people and that the
Searching,
ABB was
yeah.
for an African American male, and there are also theories that he just lived nearby.
And
And
he
so, like,
he gave him a piece of the shirt. Like,
yeah,
Right, he just like had this cloth and they happened to be looking for someone with a piece of fucking cloth. Like
yeah.
suspicious.
The Zodiac, baby. So, the letter claimed that he was stopped, that obviously they didn't keep him contained because he did not fit the description. He also claimed that he was wearing a disguise. So the composite sketches they have are basically fucking useless. In your face, stupid idiots. He is interesting. It is interesting to note in the sketch that he had a crew cut. So like he's like, hey, got one thing right. Got my hair cut, fuckers. This is 2 weeks after the Lake Berryessa attack, and Cecilia claimed the Zodiac's hair had hung down past the eye holes in the executioner's mask. Though he wiped stuff down, they still found bloody fingerprints on the driver's door. So there's just all of this. We know that the first 2 attacks happened within 2 miles. The third attack is 36 miles away from the first 2 attacks. First 2 happen at night with a gun. Third one takes place knife during the day. Fourth attack is completely different in all ways. Hey, I'll take a taxi and I'll just shoot the guy in the back of the head. So these are the 4, official attacks by they, as true crime fans and the knowledge of true crime fans and the 4 panels that I'm looking at across the screen right here, I know is vast enough to know that MOs don't just fucking switch up like that.
Right.
That's not something that happens. They don't just stop doing stuff or completely change what they're doing. It's not creatures of habit in the finest fucking capacity. Yep. Okay. Sorry. Basically a lot of differences right now. There are a lot of differences in what he's doing. That's the last one that like everyone agrees was committed by the Zodiac. We've got some more letters. In total, 4 ciphers and 32 letters are possibly written by the Zodiac Killer. They kind of run the gambit. Some are like greeting cards. Some are signed differently than others. One was signed Red Phantom. 28 of those letters came in after the Paul Stein murder. And in November of 1969, he sent in the Z340 cipher, and that was not solved until December of 2020. Do you guys remember that?
yeah,
I do.
A
Yeah.
little bit.
I remember when it.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't contain anything very important.
Yeah.
I remember reading it and being
Yeah.
like, "This is underwhelming."
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then it finished with
You know, the extra ones.
The extra letters.
So there is a 3-year gap in the letters from the Zodiac from the time it starts to the big old break, and then you get a bunch of letters after Paul Stein was killed. In 1974, this is 5 years after the attacks, he wrote again and talked about how The Exorcist was a really good movie, And he put a score at the bottom of his letter. Question number 11. What was his score? Was it San Francisco Police Department 0, me 99, 7 to 21, 0 to 37, or 1 to 2? All of those are San Francisco Police Department versus me or the Zodiac. Was it 0 to 99, 7 to 21, 0 to 37, or 1 to 2? And this is Pandas.
I'm gonna go with B.
Say it again.
B.
B, 7 to 21.
I'm gonna go with C.
0 to 37. Jack's getting back in this thing because at this time, this letter said San Francisco Police Department 0, me 37, meaning to most people that he had not been caught, but had killed up to 37 people at this point. One of the most frustrating things about the letters is how many misspellings are rampant throughout. I'm not a big fan of misspellers personally in my life. I think it's
I was gonna say that earlier. It's like, of course, it's someone who can't spell.
Yeah, like you just like it's especially now. It's very easy to not be a misspeller. Kelly G, not a fucking fan of how much misspelling the Zodiac Killer does, and I stand with her in this point because this is supposed to be like one of the smartest serial killers who has eluded capture for literally 50 years, but he can't fucking spell the word Christmas. Like how many times do you just see the word Christmas? Like I feel like it's got to be one of the top 100 words you see in a writing throughout a year as like a non-reader, you know. So I'm with Kelly G on this. Also, he spells paradise wrong every time. It's not a slip on the keyboard. He spells it with a C. He spells ever with an E at the end almost every time. He spells waiting, WATEING.
Oh.
Everybody knows you drop an E to add an ING, and that's not even how you'd spell it anyway, you fucking Northern California bitch face. Back to Thomas Horan a little bit. Remember, he thinks that like someone who didn't kill anyone wrote the letters.
That fucking
Like,
hand.
you know, someone just wanted to be part of it and so wrote the letters. He is willing to entertain that the first 4 letters came from someone who likely committed the first 2 crimes, but he staunchly says that the final 28 letters are written by someone else entirely and likely not by the same person at all. The documentary that they made is unique. They bring in a computational linguistics. This means that they apply computer science to the analysis of the synthesis of language and the speech, and they run it through customized artificial intelligence model. This is how like the dudes in QAnon got brought down. Like all the stuff they wrote got tied back to them by using like advanced AI to recognize their language in
That was in
things that they claim that they didn't write.
Hold on. That was in something. South Park.
Was it?
Yeah.
Fucking South
Do you
Park.
remember that when Cartman used the emoji, or Cartman's girlfriend used the emoji tracing software to find out who? Wow, I didn't know that was like a QAnon thing that they were doing. That's pretty good because Cartman was
Well, that's how they got caught. That's how they got caught
Cartman
because
was
someone
saying a bunch
used
of
this.
hurtful shit online. He was cyberbullying somebody, and she used his emoji tracing software. The way people use emojis is individual, like a fingerprint. And so
I do
vaguely
remember that,
this episode,
right?
yeah, dude, I didn't know that was a QAnon thing. You fucking learn something every day.
There you go. So it says that through stylometry, to use the function of words, it is extremely likely that the letter writer changed after the Paul Stein murder, saying basically that any letter received after the Paul Stein murder can't be used as authentic, according to this revolutionary AI. They said it would be extremely difficult to fake something like that and get it past the AI. Experts chalk it up to a, quote, psychological shift and not a change in writer.
Yeah, but this is 1960s
So
AI. What the fuck do they know?
no, this is like modern day AI. The new experts are saying like the people who don't believe that, the people that believe he wrote every letter are like, no, it's not a new person. He had after he killed Paul Stein, there's like a shift in psychology. So he was feeling different,
Oh.
Yeah. So who does Thomas Horan think wrote the letters? Question number 12. You tell me. Is it A, a copycat killer, B, the media, C, the police, or D, he believes it is an actual killer?
Or E, an actual ham
Maybe not
sandwich.
the Zodiac, but he believes, remember, Thomas Horan does not believe that there was a Zodiac, but he believes obviously that there were killers. So a copycat killer, the media, the police, or an actual killer?
I think I'm gonna say a copycat killer.
Panda.
I think media.
The media. Fake news. Thomas Horan believes that it was a journalist leaking the information. He believes it was the media. Getting Panda 250 points. We've got 3 questions to go. It's a tight game. It's 1250 Panda, 1000 Jaxx. And let's see, 4, 13. I think we have 3 questions left or 2? 2 questions left. And they're both multiple choice. So it's coming down to it, y'all.
We're close. We're close.
We forget to tell people too, but are these stabbable? They can stab at them at any time, right?
I'm not confident enough for that.
Question number 14 is 100% stabbable. So if you
Ooh.
need to, if there's no way for someone to win when you get there, question 14 it's got some stabbability. Basically, he says that more than one person would have had access to the crime lab that Paul Stein's shirt would have been in, so they could have taken a piece of it and sent it with a letter. He said that journalists had free reign of the Hall of Justice. Another expert would go against this and say journalists would not be allowed in there. But Horan makes a great point that there was tons of corruption that they found to be factual at the time, and up to and including tampering with evidence in murder investigations.
Yeah, I mean, nobody's allowed in the Hall of Justice, like unless you're a Superman or.
It's the first quote that this ham sandwich has that has made much sense. But what would the motivation be, right? So the story's going to keep going. One journalist named Paul Avery at the San Francisco Chronicle got letters sent directly to him over the course of this time. They asked someone, is it true he was called Unsavory Avery? And the person answered absolutely, and said he was always looking for some sensational story. At some point in the letter writing, only the Chronicle continues to get letters. After this, there are crimes that some people link to the Zodiac, but they are intensely argued about. One of the more popular is Sherry Jo Bates. This would have been in 1966, predating all of the ones we talked about today, where she was murdered outside of a library in Riverside, California. More of a Southern California bitch face there. In 1966, letters showed up to police as well as Sherry's father, and the letters were signed with what looks like a Z. In this case, they found the same military boot print as well. However, in 2016, the person who wrote the letters came forward and said it was a hoax. Can you imagine later in life coming forward to be like, yeah, I was such an asshole as a kid that I wrote letters to a dead girl's dad and the police because I thought it was funny.
Yeah, you're like, I'm an asshole, dude. I'm not the serial killer.
Yeah, so listen, sorry about that, but just wanted to get ahead of this before you guys track me down. So, yeah, basically that's a pretty that's pretty rough.
Me that envelope.
Right. So they confirmed that the person had the same handwriting as the writer of those original letters, even all those years later. They also confirmed that this person was not Bates' killer or the Zodiac, so 100% off the hook. He just wrote the letters like an asshole. It's not really a crime. You're just being a dick. Police have since confirmed that this case is not connected to the Zodiac Killer, and at this point, like, what the fuck does any of this even mean? That the person who killed Bates didn't kill all of the other people. Nice. One of these people believed to be connected to the kidnapping of Kathleen Johns and her baby on March 22nd of 1970. According to Johns, a man pulled up next to her and got her attention while she was driving. She pulled over and said he said that her tire looks flat. He would mess with it for a little bit and add some air, supposedly, but she would get down the road only a few miles before her wheel completely fell off. He just so happened to pull up next to her again to give her a hand, and this time forced her and her baby into his car. She said that he drove her around for a couple of hours until she was able to eventually jump out of the car and hide. She made it to the Patterson police station and saw a picture of the composite sketch of the Zodiac from the Paul Stein murder on the wall and said, quote, "That's him." So she got fucking picked up in a car, driven around for a couple hours, jumped out with her baby in her arms.
Yeah, do you think that was like at a stoplight, or do you think it was like a tuck and roll situation?
Car was moving.
She
From what I
bailed,
understand,
man.
it was a tuck and roll situation. So
Yeah, babies are
she
resilient.
she tuck and rolls with baby. She runs, she hides, gets to a police station while giving her report, sees a sketch of the Zodiac and goes, "What the fuck? That's
A
him."
composite sketch of a killer that was wearing a disguise, right? Because that's not the right.
Well, no, the disguise was the killer who killed the third crime. This is the Paul Stein, the taxi driver, the guy who was getting out of the back of the taxi cab that the teenagers saw.
Okay.
So, yes, eventually the Zodiac sends a letter claiming credit for this crime, but by this point, he may not be the original letter writer at all. And if we don't know if he's claiming things he didn't do, then we also don't know if he's not claiming things that he didn't do. So it's conflated. I know it sounds that way, but it basically, like, we know that he is the letter writer is taking blame for things that he possibly did not do, but is he like possibly trying to stay away from things and not bring up that he did do?
He's like,
So
oh,
there's
look,
a
I
lot of this,
kidnapped
like,
this lady. Definitely didn't murder 37 people.
yeah, right. So people wonder about the Zodiac's connection to the disappearance of 25-year-old Donna Lass in 1970. In 1963, two kids who wanted to participate in a ditch day were found in a shack on the beach, bound and shot. They had been killed with a .22 caliber pistol, also with Super X ammo, and were shot outside and been drugged inside of a shed. So speculation continues on crimes that could have been attributed to the Northern California bitch face. There are so many more. Like, Kelly G stops listing them, but like basically you can go look up all of the crimes that could. Remember we said I think like fucking 50 crimes could possibly be connected to him. I think we've gone over 8. So since we talked about the whole time how it could be totally separate people, let's also talk about theories that a lot of people have speculated about over the years. It's pretty hilarious. You won't believe the number of people who have come out over the years claiming that their parents were the Zodiac. There was an FX 4-part series where this kid was adopted, found out who his parents were, did a bunch of searching, and then realized his dad may have been connected, and basically was like, "My dad's the Zodiac." So it's an interesting thing for sure. There are people that think the Zodiac is everyone from Ted Cruz, who literally wasn't born when the attack started, but that's fine. I also think it was him. All the way to like Ted Kaczynski, who like did live in the area at the time.
Yo, I was doing the math as you were going through the story. And Uncle Ted never lived more than 38 minutes away from any of these crimes. Well, while he was a teacher at Berkeley.
Well, there you go.
In
Ted
1960.
Kaczynski is also just a name that floats around these cases a little bit.
Yeah.
So, old Uncle Ted. There are lots of coincidences, but as Greg says about lots of coincidences, sometimes you like,
Too many coincidences is not a coincidence.
No. You'll find a lot of these coincidences where just one or two things don't match up. But we'll talk about Arthur Lee Allen. A lot of people believe this was the guy that got away with it. The popular film with Jake Gyllenhaal and Mark Ruffalo. Remember that one, the David Fincher film, guys? Remember? It comes to this conclusion as well. It's a good movie, by the way. If you're a fan of the case, it's a pretty good film. I'm a Jake Gyllenhaal fan. I think he does well. There are a lot of things that are suspicious, and Allen has the distinction of being the only person ever named as a suspect in the case. one suspect ever listed right there is the fucking guy, Arthur Lee Allen. Some history on the guy. He was born with cryptorchidism. I fucking there was so many. There was like 4 different ways to pronounce it online too. I was like, I'm just going for it. Basically, he had undescended testes. So very late in his life did his balls drop.
Hey, shy
This
balls, man. That's tough.
postponed his secondary sex characteristics and gave him a feeling of otherness while he was growing up. Since childhood, he hated authority, and people said he'd get even with people who had wronged him. As an adult, Arthur Lee Allen did a lot of things that would make anyone question him. Unfortunately, most of what we know about these actions is hearsay from his friends, and some of them are not above scrutiny themselves. So, Arthur Lee Allen told his friends he would write letters to cause a stir. He owned a watch that had the brand name Zodiac and the symbol later adopted by the Zodiac. We've all seen it. It's the cross and the circle.
Yeah.
Allen's friend Don Chaney said Allen showed him a gun with a pen light attached to it. He said that Allen drove him to Lake Herman Road and Blue Rock Spring Park before those crimes happened. After police mentioned to Chaney that they might be able to get DNA from some of the letters, he blurted out that, he actually had licked some of the stamps at Allen's house. So if his DNA was on them, that would be the reason. People say that they wonder if Chaney isn't involved himself. They gave Chaney a lie detector test that was inconclusive. A couple more weird things from Arthur Lee Allen. The day of the Lake Berryessa attack, Arthur Lee Allen came home covered in blood. Question number 13, the last non-stabbable one. What was his excuse for being covered in blood? Is it A, that he had helped someone who had been in an accident? B, that he had gotten a nosebleed? C, that he and his friends killed a chicken? Or D, it was paint, not blood?
I'm gonna go with A.
A, he had helped someone who was in an accident. Jax.
I'm gonna say he got a nosebleed.
Got a nosebleed. Perfectly good answers. Unfortunately, no score here because he said that he and his friends had just killed a chicken. That's all. We're just out
It's
killing
so
chickens,
random.
mama. Aren't you hungry? I brought you home a chicken.
What he didn't tell people was that he used a hammer.
Oh God.
Yeah, here's the thing. I didn't tell you because you didn't ask.
Yeah, they weren't eating chicken. They just killed a chicken. It was
So
the neighbor's pet.
We're not
Oh,
at
no.
the final question yet, but Jax, you are down by 250. So
All right.
you do not have to stab when you get there.
But
you
I
need
mean,
to get it right.
I may as well.
And it is evens, which means that you answer first.
Okay.
So there is strategy involved in this as well. So stabbing may there's a whole thing going on. I'll let you guys figure out the strategy. I'm not going to explain it to anybody. You guys are smart. I believe in you. So, when asked about it, he said that he and his friends had killed a chicken. Yes, indeed. It is 1,000 to 1,250. Panda's got the slight edge as we head into the home stretch here. At one point, Allen went to the Crazy Horse Saloon and offered the gangster guy who ran it to kill people for money. Basically, there's like a town or a place in town where like gangsters ran it, and he went in and he was like, I'll kill guys for money for you. I'm Arthur Lee Allen. I'll do that. He said he was the Zodiac. He said he was Zodiac, not the Zodiac, but still weird enough for the guy to mention it. He told the gangster he would kill someone in San Francisco and come back. And after Paul Stein, he came back, and the guy told Allen to get the fuck away from him. Allen was jailed for several crimes involving pedophilia. Also, the survivor of the Blue Rock Springs Park, Michael Mageau, was shown a lineup containing Arthur Lee Allen and pointed to him pretty much immediately. So it doesn't seem like, probably there's a good chance this guy had something to fucking do with it when a survivor points you out almost immediately. But we do know that eyewitness testimony is actually quite unreliable. So no one has been able to definitively link him to a single crime. So, I mean, he looks bad for it, but that's not the way that the American criminal justice system works. You can't just look bad for it and, all right, well, shit, throw him away and lock him away and throw away the key then. They say it's important to let evidence drive a case, not the suspect, and no evidence was ever found during the searches of Arthur Lee Allen's home or anything involved with him. People point out that the profile the FBI wrote on the Zodiac said that it was a heterosexual man interested in age-appropriate partners, and Arthur Lee Allen was a like blatant and clear pedophile. He was not interested in women his age. He liked children. Allen was a sadist, and the Zodiac's crimes were considerably not sadistic. They were killer, but like, you know, when it comes to sadism and killing someone, there is also a clear-cut difference. It will also be tough to get any type of confession or information from Arthur Lee Allen, as question number 14, Arthur Lee Allen died of a heart attack in what year? Would anybody like to stab?
No.
Okay. The options are 1988, 1992, 2001, and 2007.
I think I'm gonna say 2001.
Panda.
Hmm.
88, 92, 01, or 07.
I was gonna say 2001 too, but I'll go 2007.
With 2007. Neither answer is correct, which means Panda will be our champion tonight. Arthur Lee Allen died of a heart attack in 1992.
The answer was right there in front of me
Yeah.
the whole time, and I was like, man, I wonder who it's gonna be. I wonder who's gonna get it.
There it is.
Yeah.
So they took DNA from Arthur Lee Allen to use in the future before he died, but it hasn't been matched to anything so far. So like they're hard pressed on, they've searched, they've looked, they've kept DNA to test against it, and nothing has been able to be matched to Arthur Lee Allen. As good as for it he looks. After Allen, the next guy people point to most often would be Gary Francis Post. On October 6, 2021, the Casebreakers Independent National Task Force published a claim that they had figured it out, and it was Post. He was born in 1937 and was in the Air Force, and in 20, so, you know, he could have had the wing walkers. In 2016, he was arrested for domestic battery, and the next year was put in assisted living for dementia. He had lines on his forehead that matched the guy in the composite sketch of the like most commonly accepted Zodiac sketch. One of Gary Post's former cellmates and some of his friends claimed that he had confessed to the crimes over the years. They say that if you use Gary's name in the ciphers, that they come out better somehow. So there's a bunch of people that are like, oh, if you plug in Gary, I don't fucking know. I don't even pretend to understand the ciphers. So they didn't show anything convincing, though I'm not really fucking sure about that. And he died in 2018, so we also can't tell his story either. Another man was Richard Marshall. He lived near the attacks and had connections to letters. His favorite film was Red Phantom. Remember that fucker? Then there's Ross Sullivan. He was the librarian of the library Sherry Joe Bates was killed outside of. He was bipolar and schizophrenic, and he carved a poem into a desk in the library that is consistent with Zodiac's letters. Also, after Sherry Joe was murdered, he disappeared. There's also a man named Donnelly Bujek. He was released from jail days before the Lake Berryessa murder, and if you remember, Brian said that the guy was claiming to be a convict and just wanted his car initially. His cellmate said that he said a lot of shit about like being slaves and the afterlife, and he was basically an insane person. And at one point, someone calls a popular show the Art Dunbar Show and asks to speak to Melvin Belly, a celebrity lawyer who represented folks like Jack Ruby. So, like, that's the dude who shot Lee Harvey Oswald. So this guy's represented some motherfuckers. They act like it could be him, but everyone who had heard the Zodiac's voice, Nancy Slover and Brian Hartnell, said that the guy who called was not the authentic Zodiac. They later found that that man was calling from a mental health hospital. What a twist. So
Is it
a
really
quick
a
sum
twist
up.
though? Because I feel like listening to Coast,
Yeah, the half of those.
hearing the people that
Your
call in,
time
though.
is up.
Yeah, like they call in and they're like, yeah, I work security at Area 51, and they got a mech suit, and the guy picked up a Subaru Brat and cut it in half with a plasma sword. And you're like, I mean, fucking.
Like,
What?
Thomas, your time is up. You need to get off the phone.
Yeah. No, 5 more minutes.
So
I'll take my answer off the air, thank you.
Yeah. Quick sum up is basically this is all fucking nuts. Again, we don't really cover unsolves, but like it's one that like has been in the works for a very long time. Kelly G came through to really like get this thing moving forward. If we're going to say that one person did those crimes and wrote all of the letters, then hopefully someday we figure it out. Police say that they still get 3 to 4 tips on average a week about the Zodiac. Maybe now people, a fucking 55-year-old crime averages about 4 tips a week.
That's
Isn't that
wild.
nuts?
Yeah.
Maybe now people investigate these crimes individually, and they are still considered cold cases. It was either a bunch of people who were all sort of clever, or it was one guy who was super smart, but somehow still didn't know how to spell Christmas. They asked one of the original investigators on the case, why wasn't the Zodiac caught? And he says, quote, beats the hell out of me. Another investigator on the case said the fact that we're still here talking about him 50 plus years later is a testament to what he created in terms of mystery.
But what if they
And
just
that
like,
is the end of my freaking report.
what if they got the cipher wrong though? Like, what if they deciphered it and everybody's like, oh, okay, yeah, we couldn't figure it out, so that's got to be right. And the actual Zodiac is somewhere like, no, you fucking idiots, that's not it. That's not at all what I
gotta
said.
tell you, I'm with Kelly G. The fact that the cipher has 18 extra letters
And a bunch of spelling errors.
I'll take the
Right.
spelling errors.
Not me.
People suck at spelling sometimes.
If you're smart enough to create your own language, you're smart enough to spell stuff.
Yeah. Fine, but the 18 extra letters are really what does it for me.
Absolutely agree with you, though.
Yeah, I feel like they kind of made it work a little bit.
They,
you know?
well, if you massage it a little.
You're supposed to let the evidence do the talking. They're like, no. Congratulations, Panda, on your victory. You want to take a little victory lap? You want to?
Oh, thanks.
Anything?
Hmm?
Anything you want to say? Anything? This is your time to shine.
Oh, thanks for having me on. It was fun.
Yeah.
Fun hanging out.
Congratulations on your victory. We'll definitely have you on again. It was nice to have you. Jaxx, thank you for being here again. Sorry for your loss, but
that's all right.
You'll have another chance one day. Yeah, one of these times. You sound like Mama Shy.
Yeah, you know, it's I'm just happy to be here. So
yeah, you sound even more like her.
Thank you for having me on.
Dude, absolutely.
It's always a great time.
Thank you for coming out and listening to this long one about our good friend the Zodiac Killer. Greg, what do you want to include here at the end, bud?
Thank you for having me. This has been fun. Lonely fans.
At this point, I'm stuck with you.
Lonelyfans with 2z's.com if you're into extortion. And I think that's all I got.
Nice. Serialchillerspod.com has all the information on where to find us outside of listening to us. I don't need to tell you where to listen to us if you're listening to us, because you already know how to listen to us. But if you want, it checks out Greg, trust me. If you want to reach us in the quickest way possible, send us an email at serialchillerspodcast@gmail.com or text the show 1-805-666-2513. You can call. It'll go straight to voicemail. We'll get that pretty quick too. But email or text the show. We'll get it right away. We've done some adjustments to the Patreon. By now it's months old, but some of the levels have changed. You can now get a t-shirt at a $15 level. We're doing Patreon fulfilling some of that stuff for us, making it a little smoother on our side. So thank you guys so much for coming out. Greg, as always, thanks for showing up, doing your damn thing. The Hella Greg thing, the Hella Greg way.
not very well and sloppy. That's
Hey, you're here, all right? That's all I can ask for sometimes, and I got it. Well, if there's nothing anybody else would like to add,
No.
then for Jaxx, for Panda, for Hello Greg, I'm Cromulent Jesse. And remember, we still have no idea who the Zodiac Killer is. If you have any information, reach out to the San Francisco Police Department. And don't talk to strangers.
That's not how you get Zodiac information, though. Or what was it? A sociopath paper?
Oh, sociology.
Sociology.
Yeah.
Yes,
Same thing. Same thing.
Sociopath paper.
I don't know. I didn't go to college.
That's the end of my freaking report.